Hello, my friends. Welcome back to our channel. Thank you for stopping by. I am Dorian, and this is Not Easily Broken. We're going to discuss why communication is critical and is so important to your marriage. Now, marriage is a long term commitment that requires commitment, it requires sacrifice, dedication, it requires patience and understanding. And to build a successful marriage, you need to have character. Yes, character is important. Maturity is important. Moral values and standards are important. Your relationship with God is also important in order to build a Christian marriage. Love alone won't make your marriage work. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but it won't. However, outside of these things, there is one key thing. There is one important factor. There's one thing that you need to become very good at, and that is communication. A matter of fact, even your relationship with God requires it. No relationship can be built without communication. I often maintain that your relationship will rise and it will fall because of communication. Communication is one of the most essential aspects of a successful marriage. And let us explore why communication is so crucial to a marriage and how it can positively impact your marriage and any other relationship. Well, number one, it helps to build stronger marriage. I mean, guys, let's be for real. If you're really going to build a good marriage, a strong marriage, it requires communication. Communication is key to building and maintaining a marriage. I'm just going to be honest about it. You can't get away from it. I mean, think about it, guys. When couples communicate regularly, they are more likely to build a deeper understanding for each other. This understanding, it leads to trust, respect, it leads to honor, it leads to empathy, which are vital for a strong marriage. And another reason why communication is critical to a marriage, it resolves conflicts. Every relationship is bound to have conflicts. I know that we're part of this perfect culture now. Everything has to be picture perfect. Your social media page, where you go on vacation, Hollywood, Disney World, romance novel, it's really all a lie if you really think about it. It's make believe. And unfortunately, most people don't know their reality from the virtual reality. They don't know social media fiction from their real reality. And here's what really happened is, in a marriage, there will be conflicts. There will be disagreement. You're going to have times or moments or season when you are not always on the same page. You find yourself doing this rather than coming together as one. But how these conflicts are handled will set you apart from successful marriage and failed ones. It is said that successful marriage are not really void of conflicts. They're not void of it. But what good relationships, what healthy relationships does is communication help them to solve these conflicts. So a healthy relationship and a healthy marriage, it is based on how you communicate. And the level of maturity will determine whether you solve these problems or you magnify them. And so by communicating openly and honestly, couples can avoid, misunderstanding each other. And it will help you to work together to finding solution to some of the problems that are impacting the marriage in a very negative way. Another reason why communication is critical to a successful marriage, it promotes emotional intimacy. Emotional intimacy is an important aspect of a successful marriage. And emotional intimacy, it really is one of the key component or area that you need to focus on in order for you to really get to understand your spouse. Emotional intimacy refers to a close connection between the two of you, between two individuals. It characterized by a sense of mutual trust. It involves sharing one's innermost thoughts, feelings, and experiences with another person in a safe and supportive environment. There's just so many things that you can do when you show emotional intimacy. It involves the willingness to be vulnerable. There's no intimacy without vulnerability. Both of them kind of go together. And you have to be open with your spouse. You have to be naked and not ashamed. You have to be willing to let your guard down, the willingness to listen, the willingness to show your spouse that you care about them. That is critical and so important to the relationship. And oftentimes, what really happened in marriages is really people just become very selfish, And selfishness is just not a good character. It's not a good habit to display in a marriage. A matter of fact, I've often maintained that selfish people should stay single because, marriage requires serving, it requires giving, it requires leaning into another person and willing to lose yourself in the service of that individual. One more area why communication is so critical to a marriage is it builds sexual intimacy. We talk about emotional intimacy. So now let us talk a little bit about sexual intimacy. And sexual intimacy in marriage is very important to a marriage, right? Dave Willis, in one of his books, I believe it's The 7 Laws of Love, he said that sex does not make a marriage work, but it's almost impossible to make a marriage work without it. And so in order to create great sexual intimacy, you have to communicate. Because it's all about connection. Communication is about connecting. It's about connection. You're connecting with another individual in many different areas of connection. But in this particular instant, it's about connecting in a very sexual way. And how are you going to do that? How are you going to know and how are you going to connect if you don't really know your spouse? Do you know what your spouse desires? Do you know exactly how they desire to be loved sexually, right? And one of the key things that you have to do as a couple is spend time to get to know your spouse. It is so important. I want you to think about this for a moment. When was the last time you asked your wife if she's enjoying sex? No, seriously. I want you to ask her that question. Ask her, honey, are you enjoying me sexually? When is the last time you asked your husband, is he sexually fulfilled? Ask him these questions. Because if you don't ask, how are you going to know? Right? You cannot read their mind, and sometimes they don't want to tell the truth. And so if you don't really ask them in a very nice and a very peaceful manner, a respectful way, you're not going to get answers. Great sex is not just about you. It is about the two of you. When you ask these questions, it gives them an opportunity to open up and tell you more. I tell men this all the time. I tell husbands all the time that you don't know more about your wife's body than she does. Your wife knows more about herself. Your husband knows more about herself. If you don't take the time or take the interest in asking questions, then how are you going to get the answers? Ask them what they want. Ask them how they want to experience it. It is your job to please your spouse sexually, and there is no other way to know how to do it, my friends, except through communication. You need to know. It is not just about what you're doing, it's about what they want you to do. It's how they want to experience and how they want to enjoy you. And in order for you to do so, you have to take pride in effective communication. You're going to hear us talk about communication over and over again because I believe it is a solvent for almost every marital problems. If you don't communicate, you cannot get the answer. If you don't get the information, you cannot make changes to the problem. And so it's important, guys, for you to understand and practice this regularly in your relationships, in your marriage. Another key area why communication is important in a marriage, it builds trust. Trust is a vital component to any relationship, especially in a marriage. I've often maintained that trust in a marriage is like what a foundation is to a building. No building can survive, no building can withstand, no building can be sustained without a strong foundation. As a matter of fact, I believe that's one of the reasons why they take and they spend so much time in getting the foundation right. You don't want to prematurely just build on any foundation. You want to make sure that thing is solid. I believe that one of the key pillars of a successful marriage is communication. And one of the other pillar is trust. When couples communicate regularly and openly, they are building trust with each other and in each other. Trust allows couples to feel secure in their relationships. It allows them to feel secure in the marriage and make them more likely to share their thoughts, share their feelings, share their emotions, and share exactly what's going on in their lives. One area of that is very critical to a woman in relationship is trustworthiness, and for men too. When you are a trustworthy person, then I believe in you. I trust you. I can honor you if you understand what I'm saying. Another area why communication is critical to a marriage, it is respect. Communication is essential for fostering or for facilitating, for building, right, and promoting respect between couples. One couple communicates differently than another. Maybe their communication style is different, but through respect, you learn to understand each other. Communication requires you doing it respectfully. This shows they value and appreciate each other. It shows that I want to hear you out. Regardless of our differences, I want to hear what you have to say. This respect can help to create a positive, supportive environment. It gives both individual the sense that my opinion counts, that what I'm saying is valuable, that my spouse is not only conscious or interested in hearing their own voice, but they're open to hearing mine too. Guys, you have no idea how these things really play a big role in how you nurture and how you build a marriage. And I believe Christian couples have a responsibility to take pride in learning how to communicate, in taking the initiative and the understanding of how they can elevate themselves so that they can be able to serve their spouse better in the marriage. And so guys, that's what I want to share with you in this video. If this video adds some value to you, then I would like you to hit that like button. If you have not subscribed to our channel, please hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment in the comment section. May God continue to bless you, and always remember that your marriage is not easily broken.